We begin today's meditation with a few sipping exercises to remind us a little treat can go a long way. So pick up your McCafe iced coffees, close your eyes, and deep sip in. And deep satisfaction out.
Take a treat retreat at McDonald's. Right now, get a McCafe iced coffee in any size and any flavor for just 99 cents until 11 a.m. Price of participation may vary.
Hi everybody, this is the Cricket Badger podcast.
Each badger marks the track with its own scent.
His black legs are short but very powerful for digging. The name badger probably comes from the French word bêcher, meaning digger.
Hello everybody, welcome along to another edition. It's the Cricket Badger podcast. I'm James, taking you through as always. First of all, thank you very much to moonrisecricket.co.uk for the support of our content from the Indian Premier League. Very much appreciated that they're on board. And you'll have seen on recent podcasts, we did the preview, we went through each of the various franchises. But one thing that we always look out for ahead of an Indian Premier League is the youngsters, the uncapped brigade that are going to be making their way in the tournament. All teams need uncapped talent. And many of the household names that we see around the IPL, they all started somewhere. There's some serious young Indian talent at IPL 2020, and many of you, I'm sure, won't be aware of too many of them. Let's take a look at some of the youngsters that have life-changing opportunities over the next few weeks in the UAE. And to help me do that, it's an old friend of the Cricket Badger podcast, Aakash Sivasubramaniam. Welcome back. How are you?
I'm fine, James. How are you? How are everybody? How are people supporting the Cricket Badger? I hope everybody is fine. And buzzing for the IPL.
You were in England when we did the Ashes and the World Cup podcasts through those tournaments, but you're back in India now, aren't you, working out there?
Yeah, I'm currently working for an organization called Sports Cafe. We're really buzzed and ready for the IPL. We've all lost a lot of months without any sports, so it's good to have live sports back finally. Yeah,
and the IPL's a fantastic competition. It's going to be slightly different though, Aakash, isn't it? Not in India, probably not going to have fans in there either. So maybe a slightly more, without the razzmatazz, but the cricket, we've seen in England over the last few months, the cricket has still been of a very good standard despite the fact no crowds have been in there. So it's going to be different, but it's still going to be really good.
Yeah, it's going to be slightly different, but it's not going to be entirely different because always there have been crowd up and down, I would say, but the main focus or the main impetus is always on cricket. And after CPL, we have IPL, and it's really good to have T20 back because we've had a long wait for these competitions, especially given that it was supposed to start in March. So it's quite a way to get IPL back finally.
Well, I spoke to you the other day and we talked about some of the youngsters that are going to be playing in this IPL. It's always a feature of the tournament, isn't it? You know, each of the sides, they need, obviously, the overseas stars. They need their homegrown stars, but you need to make that 11 have some serious young quality in there. Every franchise needs to have one uncapped player in there. So we're going to go through the 8 franchises and look at some of the youngsters that might get their chance this time around. And obviously, we'll start with CSK. We'll do it in alphabetical order as we've been doing it through the various previews so far. And you sent me a list of players. I've added a couple in there as well. But looking at CSK, they're always a side that is very good at bringing in some youngsters. MS Dhoni, if he likes a young talent, it doesn't matter how old they are, they'll throw them in.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the key aspect that we will be looking at when we're talking about CSK. And in the past as well, we've seen a lot of talents come in, including last season, the season before actually, when we saw Deepak Chahar coming in. And he's quite made a wave around with the new ball bowling. And he's made it into the Indian team as well. So CSK is always a well-settled unit, but they do have in one or two players who can quite create a wave around, if you could say. So this season too, they'll have quite a few players to look out for.
Well, let's start with the one of them, a right-handed batsman, Ruturaj Gaikwad. He's 23 years old, may get his chance this time, Aakash, because obviously Suresh Raina is going to miss at least the start of the competition, so there's a spot there up for grabs, and Gaikwad might take that.
Yeah, that's been the talk around in CSK camp that Ruturaj Gaikwad may very well get his chance. And it's not just because of that. If you actually look into the interviews and all of that, you'll find out that MS Dhoni had called him an intelligent cricketer. So when MS Dhoni spots a talent and he calls somebody intelligent, that means he's actually that. And Prithviraj Gaikwad has actually been exceptional in not only the domestic cricket, but he's also played for India A, where he's had like fabulous knocks, and he's temperamentally a good batsman. He kind of is on the same mold of Suresh Raina, and he can clear the fence as well. So pretty much, I would say a like to like replacement. But as far as experience, he wouldn't have that, obviously.
The Indian domestic T20, it's the Syed Mushtaq Ali T20 trophy, and Gaikwad was the second highest scorer in that, wasn't he? He got 419 runs, strike rate of 146.5. He's obviously got some serious potential there.
Yeah, he knocks the ball quite a few. It's incredible how he does it. If you actually watch him closely, he has the temperament not to just bat in T20s, but also in the longer formats. So I think he's a really intelligent cricketer. And the only bad sign you'd say is that he still has to wait another 1 week to get past his tests and stuff for COVID-19. After that, I think he'll be frontliner for Suresh Raina's spot.
Let's move on to another one of the CSK youngsters, another 23-year-old. I think he turns 24 actually during the competition. A base price purchase, but he's a slow left armour, and that's Ravi Sai Kishore, Tamil Nadu player. He's played 22 T20s in his time, taken 25 wickets in that time. Best of 4 for 6 and an economy rate of 5.45 in there. So I've seen a few of the sort of former players in their previews. They've been talking about some of the emerging players to look out for. And this lad gets quite a few mentions.
Yeah, he gets quite a few mentions. I'll tell you why exactly. Because I've seen him closely. For Tamil Nadu, Dinesh Karthik actually uses him as a new ball bowler. So he has that ability to bowl with the new ball. And as you know, a lot of spinners don't really like the new ball in at least the white ball format. So he has that skill, and he has an exceptional kind of consistency. He hits the target, and he kind of is like Ravindra Jadeja, but slightly he can even toss the ball, and he can create a few troubles in the mind of batsmen. And that's one of the reasons that he is leading the charts actually for in the side Mushtaq Ali. And another thing for CSK, if you would say that they've all converted these small time spinners or even spinners into a big thing. So I would say he might get a few chances, but I'm not sure how many chances he would get, because Ravindra Jadeja is obviously still there in the unit, and they have a lot of leg spinners. So might be tough, but when his turn comes, I'm sure he will deliver the goods.
His chances have improved a little bit because Harbhajan Singh's out the competition, aren't they? So he's gone up at least one rung in the pecking order.
Yeah, he's gone one round, but he still has plenty of names, plenty of international stars, Imran Tahir, the Mitchell Santners, plenty of people ahead of him. But I would say he's an exceptional talent, and I would say he would get a chance, at least one or two, and I'm really optimistic about that.
Moving on to the final CSK player, and I don't know too much about this lad. He's 24 years old, right-hand back, wicket-keeper as well. Narayan Jagadisan. Tell me a bit about him.
He's pretty much, I would say, an aggressive batsman, kind of a Shane Watson mold kind of a batsman. And he's been there for at least 4 years in the local T20 circuit. As far as I can remember, I've seen him in the domestic competitions for at least 6 years now. So he's been there in Tamil Nadu, around Tamil Nadu cricket for quite a while, and he knows how to bat in those conditions. So if a batsman can play very well in conditions like Chennai, I think he would do a great job in Dubai, or even those conditions, because it's pretty much similar in nature, because it's going to be sluggish. It's not going to be a pacey wicket like your Perth and all of that. So he's a really good talent. But again, the concern with him is that he's a wicketkeeper batsman. So in Chennai, with MS Dhoni around, I don't know how many opportunities he'll get, but if he gets one, it'll be right up the order. It won't be low down the order.
If you're going to pick one of those players, Gaikwad, Kishore or Jagadisan, to actually star in this IPL, which is the most likely?
The most likely is Prithviraj Gaikwad, because he absolutely fits in the right shoes. I wouldn't say he can fill in the right shoes, but I say he pretty much has the goods in him to fill in Suresh Raina's shoes.
Want to get your game the very best it can be? The future of coaching. Talk to a pro. 30-minute video conversation. Video analysis from players at the top of their game. Video shout-outs. Get a personalised message from a pro. Great for birthdays, congratulations messages, a prank, or a simple hello. Visit moonrisesports.com or go to Moonrise Sports on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Moonrise Cricket. Let's play. Just one on the list from Delhi Capitals, and that's Tushar Deshpande, 25 years old as well, left-hand bat, left-hand medium bowler. Where do you see him fitting in, and will he get his chance this time around?
Yeah, absolutely will get his chance. I tell you why as well, because Tushar Deshpande has been like a crazy name thrown up in the circuit, and he's pretty fast, and he has the variations, and he knows how to bowl a Yorker. And with Delhi Capitals, we have always seen that the core is pretty much well set. So it's very difficult for a batsman to come in and take a spot. So I'd say being a bowler, I think he'll get a chance. Surely he'll get a chance, and he's been performing really well. So I think in those conditions with his cutters, he'd be really effective.
There's a couple on the list that really interest me from the Kings 11, Aakash. The first one is Ravi Bishnoi, who's 20 years old, right-hand bat, leg break bowler, took 17 wickets in 6 under-19 games in the World Cup earlier on this year. And obviously working under Anil Kumble and on UAE surfaces, which everybody's suggesting is going to take some spin, it could be a real opportunity for him, couldn't it?
Yeah, it could be a real opportunity. I think he would step up, and if he actually watch the tournament, you would see that I don't think he belonged to that level. He belonged to a higher level, and he was it's a nightmare for batsmen. They couldn't figure out which end he was bowling, which delivery he was bowling. It's a bit more like, I'd say, Shane Warne during the early years against England. It was pretty much that with all the googlies and the normal conventional leggies and the flippers. And another crazy fact about him is his control. He can land 6 deliveries in the same spot, and he can do it day in and day out. So I think working alongside Kumble, it's going to be a plus for him, and I surely think he would get an opportunity, given that Ashwin is not anymore with the Kings 11 Punjab. So he'll get an opportunity for sure.
The other player we've got down on our list from Kings 11 is Ishan Parel, 22 years old. He's a former India under-19 player as well. Added pace as well to his repertoire. May not be an automatic pick though right from the start, but if he gets his chance, he's got some weapons, hasn't he?
Ishan Parel, actually, if you've been following him, he's been there. He's been around the Indian squad and the under-19 squad. So basically, he was part of the 2018 under-19 World Cup, and he's been there for 2 years. But it was just this year when he turned out for Bengal in the Ranji Trophy, he absolutely smashed the stumps, and he clearly created a mess out of the stumps. So his pace, he can absolutely touch 150 on a regular basis, and he can clearly operate between the 148s and all of that easily. So another rare find in India, because we don't obviously encounter bowlers every day who can bowl at those crazy numbers. So he's definitely a good find. It's just how temperamentally would he fit in with the rest of the team, which would matter. If he does fit in, I think he genuinely has a chance that he could be the top wicket taker.
So just to look back on the Kings 11 then, Bishnoi, Parel, which one are you going to pick out as the one to really watch? Which one's going to get their chance and take it?
I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty much mixed in between them, especially given that Anil Kumble is part of the franchise. I think Ravi Bishnoi might get a few more opportunities, but if you really ask me who's the better one here, I think Ishan Parel would be better suited for the franchise because they already have spinners. So I think Ishan Parel might really trouble the batsman with his pace, and he also has the variations in the Yorkers. So I think Ishan Parel might be the pick out of it.
Let's move on to KKR then. Kolkata Knight Riders, Manimaran Siddharth, 21-year-old, right-hand bat, slow left-arm bowler. What do you see his role in the side, and do you think he'll get his opportunities? What does he have to offer?
Well, with KKR, we always, at least this season, we always talk about the Russells and the Bantons for an obvious reason. Is another left-arm spinner from Tamil Nadu. So why I would say he would be a player to watch out is because they don't have a plethora of options when it comes to leg spinners or when it comes to left arm spinners. So since Dinesh Karthik knows him pretty well and he can bowl in the power plays, and that could be a really good pick. And we've seen Sunil Narayan up and down with injuries in the CPL. So even he misses a game or two, they could change a lot of players up and down. I mean, Tom Banton can fit in. So if Tom Banton fits in, somebody has to fit in for Sunil Narayan as a bowler. So I would think Manimal Siddharth might get a chance, but I don't think he would be a sure shot starter for the franchise.
Another one, Kamlesh Nagakoti, 20 years old, right arm fast bowler. Now, I've been reading up a little about him, and he's had a load of injuries in his young career. A lot of fast bowlers get that, don't they? They struggle to really cope as their bodies grow and they're trying to bowl fast. But looking at what Dinesh Karthik has said about him prior to the tournament, he's basically been quoted as saying he's bowling at 150 clicks, and he's a gun fielder as well, in the same quality as Ravinder Jadeja, which is some praise, that, isn't it? Do you see him being a real impact player in this tournament?
Well, I wish he could be a real impact player, but the issue with him is pretty much like a Pat Cummins case study. So when Pat Cummins came in as a bowler, he played really well, but then he got injured for a long spell, and then he had to then build up his repertoire again and then become the top pacer he is. So I'd say he might not become an immediate success, but given that the franchisee has been really backing him so much, I would say he can be a good bowler in the next 1 or 2 years. It would be a work in progress, and by next year he probably would be a star.
On the basis of what you said then, it'll be Siddharth over Nagakoti then, if you're going to pick one to really seriously watch in this tournament?
Well, it would be Nagakoti. The thing is, as I mentioned before, looking at pacers in India is a quite lower chances than looking at spinners. So a guy bowling at 150 clicks every over is a real delight to watch. So I'd say Kamlesh Nagakoti would be more pleasing to the eye.
Mumbai Indians then, my team next, and just one on the list for them. They've got a history of bringing through some really good young talent, but Mohsin Khan is the man you've got on your list here, 21 years old. Tell us a little bit about Mohsin.
So the reason that I got in Mohsin Khan as a player to watch out is pretty much what he does. He's a left-arm pacer. He doesn't threaten you when he with his run-up. He doesn't threaten you. But when he gets the ball and when he lands the ball in the perfect spot, gets a little fizz, an extra fizz that kind of gets a little taller than a normal pacer would bowl at, and it would get the splice of the batsman. So it'd be interesting to see that in the IPL, because we all know that Mumbai Indians are packed and they already have two brilliant left-arm pacers in Mitchell McClenaghan and your Trent Bolt. So it'd be difficult for Mohsin Khan to get a chance, but if he gets a chance, that's what you have to look out for. So he hits the batsman splice and he gets the wicket.
On that basis, though, with only 4 overseas allowed, if you've got a young talent that can do a similar job to one of the overseas, it gives him the advantage, because it means they can look for the overseas elsewhere, doesn't it, in the 11?
Exactly. That's one of the reasons I think that Mumbai went with him, because they clearly know what they're doing. Especially in the auctions, they know that they're picking a player because of a certain ability, be it your Nathan Coulter-Nile or be it anyone. So they clearly know the abilities that he brings brings to the table. So it'd be a really good option. But I don't think they would go past your Trent Bolt and Mitchell McClenaghan, because that would be facing two specialist T20 bowlers. No, I would say good T20.
Introducing TD Ameritrade's newest trading platform, Thinkorswim Web. It has all the essential tools and trade strategies in a streamlined interface. No download necessary. Thinkorswim Web. Trading streamlined. Visit tdameritrade.com/thinkorswimweb to get started.
Royal Challengers Bangalore, the perennial underachievers, but I think they're going to have a really good tournament this time around. Let's start with the more unheralded of the two youngsters that you've mentioned. Shahbaz Ahmed, 25 years old, slow left armer again. How do you see him? Do you think he's going to get his chance in a star-studded RCB lineup?
He might get his chances because of what he has to offer. He's not just a left-arm bowler who can spin the ball or who can just float the ball and drift the ball, but he also has that long blade and he can smash the ball. So if RCB are looking for an option lower down the order, if they don't, for example, don't pick Moeen Ali for that spot, they might pick Shahbaz Ahmed, who can do a pretty similar job, and he can also go from ball one, so he can hit it out of the park. So if they're looking for different combinations and for permutations, I'd say they would go with Shahbaz Ahmed.
The next man we're going to mention is one I've read an awful lot about. A lot of people are talking about Devdutt Padikkal. He's 20 years old, a left-handed batsman who has basically been smashing the ball all over the place in domestic cricket in the last 12 months. 1,838 runs in 38 matches across all formats last year. He's got a good T20 record in 12 T20 matches that he's played so far. 589 runs at an average of 64.44, a strike rate of 175.75, 1 century, 5 50s. So in half of those games, he's got more than 50 runs at least. And a lot of people saying that Virat Kohli really likes this kid and Aaron Finch might have him as an opening partner.
Exactly. So last season he was part of the franchise, but he did not get to play. And after that, he just went on a crazy run. If you look at him bat, he looks effortless. I mean, his flicks are just like stack and then it goes for a six. It goes for a huge six. You wouldn't even notice that, but it travels a lot. So he's that kind of a player. He looks very classical, but once he starts hitting, it just clears the fence every time. And I've heard that RCB are changing around their unit to accommodate him. And I've also heard that AB de Villiers is going to keep instead of Parthiv Patel so that they can accommodate Devdutt Padikkal. So I think that says a lot. A franchisee doing all sort of things that they could to accommodate such a talent talks a lot about him. So I don't think we'd have to add any more to it.
He was the top scorer in the Vijay Hazare Trophy and in the Syed Mushtaq Ali Trophy last season. He's obviously got plenty of talent. I've had a look at a couple of videos of him in the nets as well, and as you say, he looks quality. You never can quite guarantee, because it's a step up, isn't it, into an IPL franchise team. It's a step up. How confident would you be that he's going to actually smash the ball around and actually take that step up in his stride?
The main thing for a youngster coming into an IPL franchisee is the captain's trust. We've seen how a captain's trust has won a lot of games, be it Rohit Sharma, be it MS Dhoni. And this year, we sort of sense that Virat Kohli is absolutely trusting Devdutt Padikkal to go from ball one. So that trust alongside his form, I'd say he'd be a real gem of a player, and he might surprise a lot of them. He might even turn up as their leading run scorer, to be honest. Given that he might face a lot of more balls and more deliveries than Virat Kohli's and AB de Villiers. So I would say he'd be a definite find and a pick of the tournament.
So would Devdutt Padikkal be your pick for RCB then, if we're going to pick one of their youngsters?
Absolutely. I would sense he's already a starter and he's already buzzing to hit it from the ball one. So I'd say he's the pick for me.
Let's move on to Rajasthan Royals then. And in the preview, which I did with the guys from the Edges and Sledges podcast, we described Rajasthan Royals as being quite a modest team. And I don't mean that cruelly. They are more than happy to throw in some youngsters. They don't necessarily need the big glamour boys to do that. So there are opportunities at Rajasthan if you are a quality youngster. And we've got 3 on the list here that have a chance, that are in the squad this time around. Let's start with Indian under-19, Kartik Tyagi, right-arm fast bowler, young quick bowler, made his debut at the age of 16 in first-class cricket. As I say, Rajasthan like their youngsters. He's got some good Yorkers in his armoury as well, some deceptive Yorkers. Kartik Tyagi, could he be a star of this tournament?
I'd say he'd be a star, but the only aspect for him, or the only trouble that might be there for him, would be his consistency. We've seen that he can, when he absolutely lands the ball in the right places, as we have witnessed in the India-Australia game, under-19 World Cup, can absolutely smash the batsman and he can make him look like club level cricketers. But when he does not do it, that's when he kind of struggles. So he might be a really good player, but that's what he has to look out for. He has to look out for keeping his shape and maintain consistency throughout 4 overs. So that would be a struggle for him coming a top-notch level from, say, the under-19 levels. So that might be the initial trouble for him. But I'd say over the course of the tournament, he might get a lot of opportunity.
Well, Kartik Tyagi, he's 19. There's 2 other 18-year-olds that we've got in the list for Rajasthan Royals. Yashasvi Jaiswal, 18 years old, left-hand bat, leg break bowler, but he was top scorer in the Under-19 World Cup, man of the tournament in that event. He's got some quality as well. There's some really, it's quite exciting this. Just to break away from the actual talking about the players themselves, but going through this list, there is a lot of serious young talent in India, isn't there? And it makes it a very exciting tournament to see some of these maybe getting their opportunity.
Exactly. Yashasvi Jaiswal is a real eye-opener kind of a story. Yashasvi Jaiswal actually moved to Mumbai when he was 10 years old. And he's been doing all kinds of jobs to keep his cricket going. He's even worked worked in the streets he's been selling snacks and stuff, and he's been a real revelation in the under 19 World Cup, as you clearly mentioned. And looking at him bat, it looks very effortless. I don't know if it's just him or it's just left-handers. When you look at them bat, it's just effortless with the way they bat. He surely must be one of those batsmen. I would really rate him, say, on level with David Padikkal, and these two could clearly light up the tournament.
He was the youngest player to make a List A century. He scored 203 from 154 balls for Mumbai in the Vijay Hazare Trophy. 17 fours and 12 sixes in that knock. He can hit sixes as well. He's not played a T20 match, but I don't think on the basis that he's obviously dominated List A to some degree, that the shortened version would be too much of a challenge for him, would it?
I'd say it would not be a challenge, but the only issue might be that he'd be facing international bowlers and would be facing world-class bowlers right from the ball go. So that might be a challenge for him. I mean, he would be facing Jofra Archer in the net, so I don't think he would need more practice in that, and he'd be ready for the tournament.
Fed up of collecting your team's matchday subs? Worried about carrying cash post-COVID-19? Try slateapp.co.uk. Less contact than contactless. Slate, the smartest way to collect weekly match fees and more. Download the app, slateapp.co.uk. Not just for cricket, any clubs that collect subs. It just makes sense. Stick it on the slate. slateapp.co.uk. The last of the guys on the list from the Royals, 18-year-old as well, right-handed batsman, and Ryan Parag. Tell me a bit about him.
So interestingly, Ryan Parag has already played the IPL. He's already played for the Royals, and he knows how to pack a punch. And if you describe him as a batsman, I'd say he's a mixture of Dhoni and a guy like Suresh Raina. He can knock the ball and
that's not bad. That's not bad praise.
That's clearly not bad, and he's just 18. So, and when he smashes the ball, it looks effortless, but it travels a huge man. So I'd say Ryan Parag in short is a definite find. I don't know how people have missed him from the list, but I'd say he'd be definitely breaking the doors, I think, this season, because Royals would need him in the middle order. They don't clearly have a good middle order because Ben Stokes might miss a part of the tournament. So I would say Ryan Parag will slot in straight away and he'll start breaking the doors.
So of those three that we've just mentioned for Rajasthan, Parag, Jaiswal and Tyagi, who's the most likely to really succeed this time around?
Well, I would say Jaiswal because he's clearly the opener, and openers get the advantage in T20s because they face more deliveries. So I'd say Yashasvi Jaiswal, and he's truly a generational talent. And if he doesn't make the Indian colours in, say, the next 6 years, I'd be disappointed.
But you obviously rate Parag as well, from what you said there. You'd put him slightly just behind him, would you?
I'd put him slightly behind him because he won't get to face a lot of deliveries. But Ryan Parag definitely can hit the ball.
Let's move on then to the final of our T20 franchise teams in the IPL, and that's Sunrisers Hyderabad, who have always been a good hunting ground for young talent. And we've got 4 on the list from Sunrisers, so no surprises there. We'll start off with Virat Singh, 22 years old, likely to play as well. The Sunrisers have identified their middle order, and quite rightly, as being a little bit of a problem. Once Warner and Bairstow get out and they expose that middle order early, it has let them down at times. In 56 T20s, 1,552 runs at an average of just shy of 40. 45 sixes, though, in those matches as well. So you can hit a big ball too, Aakash.
Yeah, absolutely. Virat Singh, if you actually watched him in the side, Mustaq Ali, he was a run accumulator, and he single-handedly took Jharkhand into the later stages. So I'd say a very good batsman, a very good find, and he can play the spinners very well, which is one of the key components for a batsman in the IPL, because there'll be obviously a lot of world-class spinners on play. And another thing is running between the wickets. He can run between the wickets, and given David Warner and Johnny Bairstow are going to obviously farm more strike, they need a batsman like him in the middle order in case they fail. And they were rightly exposed in the middle order last season, so they would want Virat Singh, and he has the capability to score runs, and he can even even clear the boundaries and change gears. So he's a really good pick, and I'd be hoping for him to play a really good hand for Sunrisers.
This next lad is a guy I've seen mentioned quite a few times as well by some previous players. Abdul Samad, 18 years old, averaged nearly 40 in his debut first-class season. In domestic T20, got a strike rate of 136.36 and an average of 40 as well in that competition. So he's obviously got a bit of pedigree behind him. He's a promising player.
He's not just a promising player. He can, I would say, if he clears the ball in Chennai, it might even travel to Bangalore. That's pretty much like 350 kilometers. So it can travel that long. He's that big a hitter, and he's a perfect Yusuf Pathan prototype. And it'd be really interesting to see him clear the boundaries because he does it so effortlessly. He just clears the boundaries. He tucks his tee and all of that, and then he just walks back to the strike and then clears another one. So he's that kind of a batsman. He is so effortless and he can clear the ball left, right, and centre.
There's a couple of names on the list as well for Sunrisers. Priyam Garg, the under-19 captain for India in the recent World Cup. What does he bring to the party? Is he somebody that will start for Sunrisers, or will he have to wait his turn?
I'd say he would have to wait for his turn, given that Virat Singh might edge him in terms of T20 format. But again, Priyam Garg is an exceptional batsman, and he's pretty much a very classical batsman, a Rahane kind of a batsman. So it's good that they have him because they can use. I mean, if there is one franchise that can make the best use of youngsters, that is Sunrisers, because VVS Lakshman knows how to spot a talent and he knows how to groom one as well. So I'd say he wouldn't get to play a lot, but obviously in terms of caliber, he's right up there. That's why he's the skipper of the under-19 side.
Finally, the last of the youngsters, and there are a few more that we've not even got round to talking about as well, but Abhishek Sharma, all-rounder, he's 19 years old. He sounds like a good player as well.
He definitely is a good player, and to be honest, he made his debut in 2018. Immediately, the first impression for all of them were, oh, we have another Yuvraj Singh in play. And he was clearing the boundaries so effortlessly. He was bowling those overs and getting those wickets. But after his move to SA Sunrisers, he's kind of stalled a bit because he's not got a lot of opportunities. I'd be really waiting to see if he would get an opportunity, given that they don't have Shakib this season. They don't have the luxury of world-class all-rounders. So I think they would trust Abhishek Sharma to do pretty much a similar job. And he has the caliber. He's shown it with the Delhi franchise earlier. And that season he averaged 63, of course, helped with the knockouts. But he's clearly a really good batsman and he can clear the boundary. So I'd say a dual role as an all-rounder. He would start games for Sunrisers because Shakib is not there.
Virat Singh then, Abdul Samad, Priyam Garg and Abhishek Sharma from the Sunrisers. Pick me two of those to add to our list of to make 10 for the ones to watch for the Cricket Badger podcast.
So I'd say Abdul Samad. I mean, clearly he can clear the ball, and Abhishek Sharma, because Abhishek Sharma kind of is an X factor with the ball as well. So if they're going to bank him on filling those shoes of Shakib Al Hasan, which is not easy, he has a caliber to do it, and he'll get a lot of game time. So of course I'd go with Abhishek Sharma and Abdul Samad.
Introducing touch-free payments from PayPal, a safe way for your customers to pay. Whether you're a market seller,
I'll take 2 tomatoes and a cucumber,
poodle pamperer, piano tuner, or plumber. Signing up to accept touch-free payments for your business is easy. Simply download the PayPal app and display your own unique QR code for your customers to scan. Touch-free QR code payments. No seller fees until 2021. Not applicable to PayPal Here transactions. Other fees may apply. Shop safe with PayPal.
I'm going to run down the list of the 10 that we've highlighted amongst those very serious young talents that are going to be coming along to IPL 2020. While I'm reading these out, Aakash, think about your top three. I'm going to come back to you in just a second. But for CSK, we looked at Ruturaj Gaikwad. For Delhi Capitals, it was Tushar Deshpande. For RCB, Devdutt Padikkal. Sounds like he's got a real future ahead of him. For Rajasthan Royals, Rian Parag and Yash... Oh, God, I can never say his name. Yashashvi Jaiswal. I struggle. For Rajasthan. For KKR, it's Kamlesh Nagarkoti. For Mumbai Indians, Mohsin Khan. For Kings 11, Ravi Bishnoi. And for Sunrisers Hyderabad, it's Abdul Samad and Abhishek Sharma. The top three from the 10 that I've just read out there, Aakash.
I'd say Devdutt Padikkal, because he's going to be a starter for Royal Challengers Bangalore, and we know how good a batting unit RCB are. So if they're going to bank him and if they're going to trust him to open the order, I think he has the talent. Second, I would say is Abdul Samad. Given that there's a lot of hype around him, I would say he's going to really live up to the expectations and potential, and he's going to have a good tournament. The third is quite tricky because I'd have to think one of Ruturaj Gaikwad or Ravi Bishnoi. But given that Ruturaj Gaikwad might get a lot of opportunities, I would say it would be Ruturaj Gaikwad. But it's quite a close competition. It can also be Ravi Bishnoi because Ravi Bishnoi might get a few chances. So it'd be one of them.
Well, I'll let you have 4 instead of the 3. Did you do those in order then? Was it Padikkal as being your favourite?
Well, I've seen him closely, so I'd say he's an exceptional talent, and he's quite on par with, say, Yashasvi Jaiswal. But I mean, he has it in him, and he's so effortless. So that's the reason that I went with this particular.
Devdutt Padikkal then as the number 1 young player to watch in IPL 2020, followed shortly behind by Abdul Samad, and then Ruturaj Gaikwad and Ravi Bishnoi. So plenty of really good young talent spread all the way through the various franchises as well. It'd be wrong of me, Aakash, to get you on here to talk just about the youngsters. Tell me how you see this tournament going. I don't know if you've listened to the Cricket Badger podcast previews of the tournament, but we've basically put up CSK as being possibly the favourites to win it. RCB, Mumbai Indians and Delhi Capitals not too far behind. Would you agree with that?
I would have a different opinion. I wouldn't say CSK,
you always
CSK
do.
Would be going. Yeah, I know. I mean, I support CSK, but I wouldn't think they would go into the tournament as favourites, given that they'll have to fill Raina and Harbhajan. It's not an easy thing. If you really ask me, I'd say Mumbai Indians would start as favourites. They have everyone fit, they have everyone ready, and they have everyone in form. So they just have to slot the right combinations, and they'll have the trophy.
The one thing we did say was that when they sat down to buy their players at the auctions, they were thinking of buying their teams for the Wankhede Stadium or whatever their home ground is in India. UAE is going to be a different kind of challenge, isn't it? Especially with potentially used pitches as we go through a very condensed tournament in the UAE. Just 3 grounds being used as well. Spinners coming into the equation a lot more as the tournament goes through, some maybe slow, sluggish pitches, maybe not the high scoring games that we're sometimes used to.
Yeah, we might not find a lot of high scoring games, and rightly so. It's going to be on the slower and drier kind of a surface. That's ideally where Mumbai Indians also are a little bit lacking on, but I'd say given that they know how to win competitions and they know how to bank on this stars, so I mean it's kind of an obvious thing that Mumbai and CSK are going to be in top 4 of any T20 league. So I'd say Mumbai are slightly favourites, but I'd say, Mumbai are not slightly favourites. They'd be real favourites.
And who finishes bottom? Which is the worst team that you can see?
I wouldn't say worst team, but I would say in terms of combinations, I think Rajasthan have slightly more dependent on their overseas players. I wouldn't be wrong in saying that because their core players are overseas players, and they've not clearly replaced Ajinkya Rahane, and they can never replace a guy with such experience. So I think they might finish last, but again, it's too harsh on them to call them as bad as being last.
Aakash, it's been really good to have you back on the Cricket Badger podcast. You were on it every week, sometimes twice a week over the summer last year, and we've not heard from you for a long time, so I'm sure the listeners have enjoyed having you back on. Aakash Sivasubramaniam, thank you very much for joining me, and enjoy the IPL.
Thank you, James. Thank you for inviting me, and enjoy the IPL. As they say, nothing can get better than this.
Introducing touch-free payments from PayPal, a safe way for your customers to pay. Whether you're a market seller,
I'll take 2 tomatoes and a cucumber,
poodle pamperer, piano tuner, or plumber, signing up to accept touch-free payments for your business is easy. Simply download the PayPal app and display your own unique QR code for your customers to scan. Touch-free QR code payments. No seller fees until 2021. Not applicable to PayPal Here transactions. Other fees may apply. Shop safe with PayPal.